Welcome to this discussion on Zaire, a country study, a comprehensive look at the history, society, economy, government, and national security of the Democratic Republic of Congo, formerly Zaire. We'll be exploring the complex interplay of internal and external factors that shaped this nation's tumultuous past and its precarious present. What are some of the key historical events that set the stage for Zaire's current situation?
Several key events profoundly impacted Zaire. The brutal rule of King Leopold II, characterized by forced labor and exploitation, left a legacy of resentment and instability. The rushed and unprepared decolonization process in 1960 led to immediate chaos, including the mutiny of the Force Public and the secession of Katanga. The assassination of Patrice Lumumba further destabilized the nation, plunging it into a prolonged period of conflict. Finally, Mobutu Sese Seko's seizure of power in 1965 ushered in a long era of authoritarian rule, marked by both economic mismanagement and a complex system of patronage and corruption.
The colonial legacy seems particularly significant. How did Leopold's reign shape Zaire's subsequent development?
Leopold's reign was defined by ruthless exploitation, prioritizing the extraction of resources over the well-being of the Congolese people. The use of forced labor to harvest rubber and ivory devastated the population and created deep-seated resentment. This legacy of exploitation and oppression directly contributed to the instability that followed independence. The infrastructure developed under Leopold II was primarily designed to facilitate resource extraction, not to benefit the Congolese population.
The post-independence period was marked by significant political instability. Can you elaborate on the Congo crisis of the 1960s?
The Congo crisis was a multifaceted conflict fueled by internal power struggles and external interference. The immediate post-independence period saw a breakdown of order, with the mutiny of the Force Public and the secession of Katanga. The Cold War played a significant role, with various external powers supporting different factions. The assassination of Patrice Lumumba, a pivotal figure in the independence movement, further exacerbated the crisis. The UN's intervention, while intended to restore peace, also became entangled in the complex political dynamics.
Mobutu Sese Seko's rise to power in 1965 marked a turning point. How did his rule shape Zaire's political and economic landscape?
Mobutu's rule was characterized by authoritarianism and a highly personalized system of governance. He established a one-party state, the MPR, and centralized power in his own hands. His economic policies, particularly Zaireanization, initially aimed at nationalizing foreign-owned businesses, but ultimately led to widespread corruption and economic decline. Mobutu cultivated a cult of personality, using the state's resources to enrich himself and his loyalists, while neglecting the needs of the general population.
Zaireanization is a fascinating case study in economic policy. What were its intended goals, and what were the actual consequences?
Zaireanization aimed to transfer control of the economy from foreign hands to Zairians, ostensibly to promote national economic independence. However, the implementation was deeply flawed, leading to widespread mismanagement, corruption, and the decline of many businesses. The policy primarily benefited Mobutu and his inner circle, exacerbating existing inequalities. The resulting economic chaos contributed significantly to Zaire's subsequent decline.
The country's ethnic diversity is often cited as a factor in its instability. How significant was ethnicity in shaping Zaire's political landscape?
While Zaire's ethnic diversity is undeniable, it's crucial to avoid oversimplifying the situation. Ethnic identities were often manipulated by political leaders to gain support and consolidate power. While ethnic tensions certainly played a role in various conflicts, the underlying causes were often more complex, involving economic disparities, political grievances, and external interference. Mobutu's regime attempted to suppress ethnic politics through the MPR, but ethnic tensions persisted and resurfaced in the 1990s.
The 1990s saw a shift towards multi-party democracy, yet the situation remained volatile. What were the key challenges during this period?
Mobutu's announcement of a multi-party system in 1990 was largely a response to internal and external pressures. However, his commitment to genuine reform remained questionable. The subsequent period was marked by a struggle between Mobutu's efforts to retain power and the growing demands for democratization. The Sovereign National Conference, while intended to oversee a transition to democracy, became a battleground between Mobutu and the opposition. The emergence of parallel governments further highlighted the political stalemate.
The role of the military in Zaire's history is complex. How did the military contribute to both stability and instability?
The military played a crucial role in Zaire's history, serving as both an instrument of control and a source of instability. The force public under colonial rule was used to suppress dissent and extract resources. The post-independence period saw the military fragment into competing factions, contributing to the Congo crisis. Mobutu used the military to seize power and maintain his rule, but the military's loyalty was often conditional, leading to mutinies and instances of looting and violence.
What were the major challenges to Zaire's national security?
Zaire faced various national security challenges, both internal and external. Internal threats included rebellions, ethnic conflicts, and the lack of discipline within the armed forces themselves. External threats stemmed from its numerous borders with unstable neighbors, cross-border smuggling, and the presence of refugee populations. The country's involvement in regional conflicts, such as the Angolan Civil War, also contributed to its security vulnerabilities.
How did Zaire's foreign policy contribute to its internal stability or instability?
Zaire's foreign policy was often characterized by a complex interplay of pragmatism and opportunism. Mobutu skillfully cultivated relationships with various external powers, including the United States, France, Belgium, and China, to secure economic and military assistance. However, this reliance on external support often came at the cost of internal stability, as Mobutu prioritized his relationships with foreign powers over addressing domestic concerns. The country's involvement in regional conflicts further complicated its foreign relations.
What were the major economic challenges facing Zaire?
Zaire faced a multitude of economic challenges, including a heavy debt burden, dependence on primary commodity exports, a dilapidated infrastructure, and widespread corruption. Misguided economic policies, such as Zaireanization, further exacerbated the situation. The informal economy, while providing a crucial safety net for many Zairians, also undermined the formal economy and deprived the government of revenue. The overall economic decline contributed significantly to the country's social and political instability.
What role did the informal economy play in Zaire's economic and social life?
The informal economy played a significant, albeit complex, role in Zaire. It provided a crucial source of livelihood for a large portion of the population, compensating for the failures of the formal economy. However, it also undermined the government's ability to collect taxes and regulate economic activity. The informal economy's dynamism, while beneficial to many Zairians, also highlighted the failures of the formal economic system.
What were the major social issues facing Zaire?
Zaire faced significant social challenges, including widespread poverty, malnutrition, and a lack of access to basic services like healthcare and education. The collapse of the state-run systems in the 1990s exacerbated these problems. Ethnic tensions and conflicts also contributed to social instability. The status of women remained unequal, despite some legal reforms.
What were the key features of Zaire's government and political system under Mobutu?
Under Mobutu, Zaire's government was characterized by a highly centralized and personalized system of power. Mobutu controlled all key institutions, including the military, the security services, and the media. The MPR, the sole legal political party, was effectively fused with the state apparatus. This system, while maintaining Mobutu's grip on power, also led to widespread corruption, inefficiency, and the neglect of the population's needs.
How did the attempted transition to multi-party democracy in the 1990s unfold?
The transition to multi-party democracy was fraught with challenges. Mobutu's announcement of the Third Republic was largely a tactical move to address internal and external pressures. However, the subsequent period was marked by a struggle between Mobutu's efforts to retain power and the growing demands for genuine political reform. The Sovereign National Conference, while intended to oversee a transition, became a battleground between Mobutu and the opposition.
What were the key characteristics of Zaire's legal and penal systems?
Zaire's legal and penal systems were inherited from the colonial era, but were significantly shaped by Mobutu's rule. The judiciary lacked independence, and the legal system was often used to repress political dissent. The prison system was characterized by inadequate facilities, overcrowding, and widespread human rights abuses. The application of the law was often arbitrary and influenced by corruption.
What were the major human rights concerns in Zaire?
Zaire faced serious human rights concerns under Mobutu's rule. These included political repression, arbitrary detention, torture, and extrajudicial killings. The security forces were frequently implicated in human rights abuses, and the judiciary lacked independence to hold them accountable. The overall human rights situation deteriorated significantly in the 1990s, despite some international pressure for reform.
What were the key aspects of Zaire's national security environment?
Zaire's national security environment was characterized by a complex interplay of internal and external factors. Internal threats included rebellions, ethnic conflicts, and the lack of discipline within the armed forces. External threats stemmed from its numerous borders with unstable neighbors, cross-border smuggling, and refugee flows. The country's involvement in regional conflicts also contributed to its security vulnerabilities.
How did the structure and organization of Zaire's armed forces contribute to its national security challenges?
The FAZ, inherited from the colonial force public, suffered from a lack of discipline, training, and equipment. The military's loyalty was often conditional, leading to mutinies and instances of looting and violence. The organization of the FAZ was often fragmented, with competing power centers and a lack of clear lines of command. These internal weaknesses significantly hampered the FAZ's ability to address both internal and external security threats.
What were the key aspects of Zaire's foreign military relations?
Zaire's foreign military relations were complex and often driven by pragmatic considerations. Mobutu cultivated relationships with various external powers to secure military assistance and support. However, this reliance on external partners often came at the cost of national sovereignty and contributed to the FAZ's dependence on foreign training and equipment. The end of the Cold War led to a decline in foreign military assistance.